Welcome to Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow, a new minicast brought to you by SME. I'm your host, Tony Meary, Director of Community Engagement and Workforce Innovation. In this minicast, we're going to dive deep into workforce development, exploring challenges, opportunities, and solutions that are shaping the future of manufacturing. Each month, I'll bring you insightful interviews with key industry leaders, sharing success stories, highlighting significant events, and providing valuable resources to help you stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a seasoned manufacturing professional or just starting your journey, Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow is your go-to source for the latest news and trends in workforce development. So join me every month as we work together to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce. Let's get started.
All right, I'm so excited. I don't know if you've ever met somebody that you just click and immediately you're like, oh my gosh, why have we never ever met before? But that's exactly how I felt when I met Tara May. Tara is the CEO of Aspiritech, and not only just a beacon of light and amazing person, but such an advocate for their organization and what they're doing. So Tara, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony. The feeling is 1,000% mutual.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your background and journey that got you to being where you are today at Aspiritech.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll start with Aspiritech and then work backwards. Aspiritech is, in my very biased opinion, one of the most amazing organizations that exists. We are a social enterprise. So we're technically a nonprofit. We don't have any ownership. We have an incredible mission of meaningful employment for autistic adults, but we operate like a business. So our business is tech services. We do a wide range of them: software QA, web development, data migrations, accessibility testing, just everything you can think of as a tech services vendor for Fortune 500 companies and small companies alike. And it's all done by an autistic operations team. And I think the heart of what we've done is create a workplace where autistic people can be their true selves, can have the supports that they need, and can reach their fullest potential. But they're absolutely contributing team members who earn every penny of their paychecks. I have been at Aspiritech about 2 years now. I took over from the co-founders who built it from their kitchen table to a $6 million organization with 100 team members. And we are today continuing to grow and thrive and have goals of being a $10 million company. I came actually from the digital transformation and tech space. So that's where my career is steeped in for the past 25 years. But the mission of neurodiversity is near and dear to me. My introduction was my son, who was nonverbal until he was 7, diagnosed at 5, and now is a thriving 8th grader. And Aspiritech to me acts as representation of what's possible when people are given the supports that they need.
And I think that's amazing. And we always talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. And diversity is not just about your socioeconomic background, your gender, your color, but also there's so many talented neurodivergent individuals that have maybe not found their calling yet, or maybe not found a place that adapts to their learning style or their work techniques. And I know it resonates for me as well, because I always say it's 1 degree of separation when it comes to neurodiversity. Everybody I know knows and loves somebody with a neurodiverse diagnosis.
100%. And I often say the same thing about DE&I, right? It means so many things. Our identities are so complex and nuanced, and there's so many pieces that make up who we are: our race, our culture, our ethnicity, certainly our socioeconomic status, our education status. But disability is one of the few areas where you can be born non-disabled and fall into the disabled group later in life. And this is true with neurodiversity, with PTSD, with severe anxiety and depression. And it's also one of the areas where a unique brain can be incredibly valuable to a team, right? And often when we reframe the thinking and say it's instead of a different type of people or somebody who's going to need accommodations, we say it's a way of expanding the collective brain of an organization. That's really powerful.
All right, so now Aspiritech is practice what you preach. Tell me a little bit about the philosophy and the number of people or the way that you're actually hiring, because your organization is hiring a lot of individuals that are autistic. Is that correct?
Yeah. So of our team members, 93% are autistic. And this is not a situation where it's entry level positions only. Autistic people represent every level of our organization. Entry level, certainly, yes, a great way to walk in the door, but also leadership positions, management positions, executive positions, and the board. So we truly believe autistic people belong at every level of the company. And we're able to successfully do this with very little effort, which is I know really sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. We have people constantly knocking on our door who would like to work at Aspiritech. Unfortunately, the unemployment rate for autistic people is quoted by the Department of Labor as about 80%. And these are qualified, intelligent, talented, loyal team members that can excel in the right environment. Our biggest problem is too much pipeline for talent. We're constantly looking for new clients and new projects and to grow, because the more work we have, the more we can fulfill our mission. And I must have a waiting list of 1,000 people, if not more, that grows on a daily basis, who would like to work at Aspiritech or who could thrive in a manufacturing organization. And I'm just going to drop that right there to lead into anything else we want to talk about.
I mean, I literally just got goosebumps. Do you know how many companies we're working with that keep saying they cannot find the talent pipeline? Can you talk a little bit about the Aspiritech Academy and the program that you're running, how that works, and what happens with graduates of that program?
So the Aspiritech Academy is something that we're lucky enough to do because we are a nonprofit. So as a nonprofit, we're able to work with foundation partners and donors to do things that a for-profit company wouldn't do. And one of those things is the Aspiritech Academy, where we train autistic young adults, usually senior in high school through 26, but we're flexible on that, who want careers. And we train them on both hard skills and soft skills. So we will absolutely dive into quality assurance and the various services that we offer at Aspiritech. But because soft skills are often what autistic people struggle with, we also try to prep them for what a work environment is going to be like. Thinking about email communication, video chats, Slack messages, executive functioning skills, these sorts of things that are often the biggest barrier to entry for autistic people, like the hiring process, which in and of itself is really built for a neurotypical person.
I was just going to mention that because I sit on the board for Uniquely Abled Project. Can you talk a little bit about how an individual who is autistic with an autism diagnosis may interview a little differently than somebody who's neurotypical?
Absolutely. I actually will share an example. So I had the great honor and pleasure of speaking to a room full of manufacturing CEOs in Charlotte last summer. And this very topic came up, and I asked one of the CEOs to stand up and pretend that he was going to interview for a job with me. What would he do when he walked in the room? And he very much, pulled his posture up and walked over to me and made eye contact and shook his hand and began introducing himself to me and telling me about his skill sets and his credentials. And I said, okay, now tell me what any of those skill sets have to do with being a developer or being a coder or being, a person on the manufacturing line. And he was like, I don't know, right? And it was a really sort of eye-opening moment that we all had. But interviews are very much set up to be about selling yourself, about soft skills like eye contact and posture, and things that autistic people struggle with that don't necessarily have anything to do with being successful at the actual work or the actual job. So we try to rewrite the script on that, right? We try to say, how can we make the interview process help us determine whether someone is going to actually be successful at the work rather than their ability to sell themselves, which might be important if it's a sales job, but might not at all be important for many other positions.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when you talk with HR professionals that are interviewing, lack of eye contact is normally something that's seen as a sign of dishonesty, whereas lack of eye contact is very typical behavior for somebody who is neurodiverse. It's very hard to maintain the eye contact, but the ability to hyperfocus, the ability to process information, go, no go, it's right or it's wrong. There's zero gray area is a huge talent skill set when you're looking to fill specific positions. And that's part of Uniquely Abled project is like quality assurance and inspection, CNC operator, programming. All of these things are logical sense, especially for neurodiverse individuals.
Absolutely. That's 100% right. And even things like we provide the questions in advance when we have people interview with us. And I can't tell you, Tony, how many neurotypical people have said to me, that's so wonderful. I wish people would do that because I can prep my answers. I can get my thoughts together, right? I can understand how I want to convey the information because we all have different processing speeds, right? I'm a quick processor, probably too fast. I'll be talking at you before you even finish the question. Other people need more time. And that sort of thoughtfulness can actually be really helpful in many positions.
Absolutely. And then tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing to support companies who say, hey, you've got those 1,000 people in the pipeline. How do we start to grow our diversity in our workforce? How do we start to engage, embrace, and hire neurodiverse individuals?
This was one of my favorite things that we've introduced over the past 2 years. So I think the founders of Aspiritech created something magical without even knowing it, right? They were building a quality assurance business, and that's wonderful. But I think what they actually built was a community that created a work environment where autistic people and neurodivergent people can thrive. And I think every organization can look like this and that it will benefit both neurodivergent and neurotypical people alike. And so we have taken our model, our secrets, our information, and we want to share it with every organization that is interested. And it has a real ROI. Paying attention to inclusion around neurodiversity is going to help every single one of your team members. It improves productivity. It improves communication. It improves retention rates. We have a 99% retention rate and a 95% highly engaged workforce. I know when I worked in the for-profit corporate world, we would have killed for those numbers. And I know how valuable they are at organizations, and they are achievable by really thinking about the needs of your team members and accommodating them in ways that are often very simple and very free. And Aspiritech would love, love, love to share that information with anybody who is excited about employee happiness.
Fantastic. Tara, I cannot thank you enough just for taking the time to meet with us today, for sharing the work that you're doing, but for doing the work that you're doing is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to continue our partnership with you and grow in what we're doing and supporting everything that Aspiritech brings to the table.
Thank you. I'm the luckiest person in the world. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast today. We're big fans of SME and really excited to continue to collaborate.
That's a wrap for this episode of Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform to stay updated on all the latest trends and happenings in workforce development. Don't forget to visit our website at sme.org for more resources and information. Until next time, let's continue to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce together.